Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I've got Kim Joy. Kim Joy has been on The Great British Bake Off in 2018. She's a baker and an author. Hello.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, sat down, chatting. It's good.
Good. We were just having a nice little chat then about how both our brains can be a bit foggy sometimes and just technology. What does it do to us?
Oh, technology. There's too much going on in the world. Too much. Too many things to think about.
Yeah, 100%. And I try and make things easy for myself. And then actually sometimes the tech, I still don't understand it.
Yeah. And then it ends up being all hard. Even harder.
Harder than it should be. So I'll just fill the listeners in a little bit. I got, the reason we know each other is because I got approached by your publisher, I think, to prop for your most recent cookbook, Bake Me a Cat. And it was so fun to spray all those props in multicolours, have Ellis ring me and be like, I need this background, I need this colour, I need this colour. And I was like, oh, yes. Because at the time, I wasn't told who the book was for, but I kind of guessed because of the recipes and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that you didn't know who it was for. That's so interesting. Wow. But yeah, Ellis loved it because, he loves, just having all those... I think you just went for being able to spray, because you spray painted everything and you put proper time into all those props. They're all amazing. I've still got them on the bookshelf, all the little food stuff. Although I've accidentally put some of the spray painted plates in the dishwasher, two of that ruins them, but I can respray them. It's fine.
Yeah. That's it. That's what I think. Sometimes spray paint is so handy for that because you can get an array of colours quite cheap and you can get more for your money when you've got a prop budget and stuff.
Yeah, it's really, really cool props.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like them. When Ellis, I remember him ringing me and being like, I just need all of this. I need all of this. And we'd not worked together before. So I think he was like, oh, I wonder if you're going to get everything. And then as he saw the pictures coming through and I was just spraying everything, he was like, amazing, you've just got more than what we need.
Totally, he worries about it, but then he was so happy and over the moon with all the props and options.
Oh, good. That's good. And your house is incredible.
Oh, thanks. I forgot, because you saw it briefly. We're actually doing even more building work on it at the moment, though. So I'm not at home right now because at home we've got builders drilling, banging. They wake you up at 8 a.m, which I know isn't that early, but for me, it is kind of early.
That's that self-employed life, though.
I know, yeah. You just want to work at night.
Yeah. So what else you haven't done? Is it the upstairs is all getting done now?
Yeah. So we've done our the kitchen, open plan, living bit, and then it's going to be hallway and upstairs.
Ooh.
And decorating bathrooms. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I bet. We just finished our kitchen and it makes such a difference when you do the big stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Do you love it now that you've done your kitchen?
Yeah, we've just got to do the tiles, but our walls are a bit shit underneath, so it just takes a little bit more time. So
you'll get there.
Yeah. But it's just living in dust, isn't it, and stuff for a while you're getting stuff plastered and just like you say, builders turning up at 9 o'clock and you just just want peace.
But it's I feel so lucky to be doing it. It's just feels great and it's going to be amazing. Can't wait.
Are you going bright upstairs as well, the same as what you've done down?
Yeah. So we've got the hallway when you walk in is going to be double height, and I can't wait to do a really colourful mural. So when you walk in, you see right up, it goes two levels higher.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. Although I don't know how we're going to paint it because there's loads of stuff you can't reach.
You're going to need
platform things. I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon so. That's probably the safest way, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm a bit of the heights.
Yeah, I feel you. In our old house, we had a double height almost section on the stairs. And then to paint it, we had to get like one of those really long sticks and then like
Yeah.
tape everything on and just like hope for the best that we caught all the bits that needed doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You just gotta, yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So how did you get to where you are today? I know obviously that the Great British Bake Off kind of propelled you a little bit in this direction. But what did you do before Great British Bake Off? And were you creating cakes and stuff at home as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely Bake Off propelled me. But I was always into baking before that. But more sporadically because it was only about a year before Bake Off I moved in with my partner Nabil. And I had my own kitchen really, because before that it's, like shared houses, you're living with like 5 other people or other people. So you don't really have your own kitchen space. It's a bit different, or I'd be working, and when I'd get home from work I just want to crash and not do that much. So I did baking very sporadically, but I was always into baking. And then when I had the chance and when I moved in with my partner Nabil, I was like, right, I've got a whole kitchen, I'm gonna bake. And so I got massively even more. I remember like doing croissants loads of times, trying to perfect them. And then I was just in a really good space, I think mentally, and I had like a stable sort of base with my partner Nabil and like where we're living. And I felt that's it, I can apply for Bake Off now, even though that is, I don't know, it's really weird. I don't know how I got the confidence to apply. But prior to that, I worked in mental health in various different jobs in mental health. So I did a master's in psychology because my aim was to become a clinical psychologist. And to do that, you have to gain quite a lot of experience, and it's very competitive to get on. So I kind of did multiple different jobs. Like I worked in a care home for a year. I worked in an inpatient unit, people with learning disabilities, for a year. I also worked with students at the university near me, and I do like weekly sessions with them. Students with like mental health problems. A lot of it's to do with like organizing is like the number one helpful thing. Like all the practical stuff. When
Yeah.
it's like you can't organize your life until but if you sat down with somebody, then you can go, right, we're organizing.
Yeah.
And then I also worked as a psychological wellbeing practitioner in the NHS. So yeah, I think it was all, going down that route, but then Bake Off happened. But actually, I'm so glad that Bake Off happened because I'm really so interested in mental health. Like I'm always, like when you want to read about stuff and learn and figure out why everything is the way it is. But I think clinical psychology was probably just too clinical for me.
Yeah.
With the creative side, you kind of, I don't know, there's something that's quite rigid about that, and I don't think it ever spoke to me. Whereas now, I'm actually an ambassador for a charity called the Wren Bakery in Leeds, which is amazing because they work with women with multiple disadvantage and give them like baking, barista skills. It's absolutely incredible, and they work with a small cohort every year and work with them really, really closely. And the things they achieve is amazing. And like I don't see them that often. I kind of see them like a couple of times, but from the beginning to the end, it's like, wow. It's
Yeah.
like one of the trainees, Jackie, she was a trainee and, struggling a lot. And now she's helping all the other women and sort of taken quite a leadership position. So it's incredible.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, baking, literally.
Yeah. Wow. What a journey.
Yeah. And yeah, so then I went on the Bake Off, and now, but I prefer it because I get to do stuff like that. That's more me.
Yeah. I do think you're right as well. When you're creative, I really struggle with being in a rigid kind of like lane.
Yeah, yeah, totally. With when I worked as a psychological wellbeing practitioner, it's PWP for short. But it's like every session you have with people, you have to go through this form. And probably everyone who's experienced going to their GP and getting referred somewhere has experienced this form. There's like questionnaires called the GAD-7, which is like the generalized anxiety scale, and then the depression scale. But it's so number based. It's like, over the last 2 weeks, how often have you felt down or depressed or something like that? And like some people look at that form and just go, I don't, like every day, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a bit weird in how I just don't know if you can fully quantify those kinds of things. And that never sat properly with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been subject to that form as well when I was younger. And I, like you, I found it really hard to just go, well, why do I need a number for this? Because my head also isn't number based.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Because you're like thinking in color and shape and form and everything,
Yeah.
not numbers. It's interesting, but the reason they have it numbers is to make it evidence based, because the NHS needs to be evidence based so that they can fund it. But I do think that there are issues with that, because I think people feel pressure to bring down their scores towards the end. They only have like 4 to 6 sessions, and people, I think, do feel pressure, and therefore the return rate to IAPT, it's called, improving access to psychological therapies, is quite high. But it really also, on the positives, it really does help a lot of people. And it's really incredible that it does. I just don't know if it fits with everybody. And GPs can refer people to it who could have probably skipped that step. So people get bounced around a bit if you've got problems that actually can't be solved through IAPT. You kind of have to keep it's quite, I think, hard work, like not quite draining for people to have to keep explaining what their mental health problems are and trying to get to the right health. By the time they do, they're like, I'm just so exhausted.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is that I had similar thing I can relate to is like when I went in with my endo and I was like, I feel really ill. And they were like, oh, well, you period. And then you kind of like flip back and forward and you're like, I just want to get seen. I just want to be put in front of the right person who can help me.
Yeah.
And like, I think GPs and stuff are fantastic, but
yeah,
they aren't specialists in stuff, and then sometimes the specialists are so overloaded. And I think especially now after the pandemic, I feel like the pressure is on the NHS because so much was delayed. And it's the same in the mental health thing as well, because we all felt different during the pandemic, which we've never lived through before. So I can't imagine the pressure they've got at the moment.
Definitely, yeah. There's so much pressure, and everyone's trying to do the best that they can, but there's just not enough. Like, yeah, not enough. Everyone's too hard worked, and there's too much pressure, and yeah. But things are good. There are good things.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. Like, there is good things about the NHS as well, but I think it's really interesting to chat about mental health as well. Because like we said before we started recording, I feel as a self-employed person, you have a certain level of work anxiety, and then sometimes that spills over into your daily life as well. And like, there's like, when are you going to get work? And then, loads of other people have got more work than me, and it feeds a little monster when actually like it's can then cycle you into a little spiral. When actually, we're all creative, there's plenty of work for everybody, but
yeah, definitely. It's so hard not to compare yourself to everyone around you, especially because a lot of, because you're kind of getting your own work and you're self-employed, you having to be on social media for that reason, and you cannot avoid comparing on social media. So it's tricky, and I go through that where I've probably been going through that recently, or thinking it's weird, like, even though when you achieve things, I'm like, yeah, I've got my 4th book out, I've got a graphic novel out, that's great, but you're instantly thinking, now God, what's the next thing? Now I haven't made any money, and
Yeah.
also kind of got to do that don't directly make money, like promoting my books. I've been doing like signings and things like that, but I don't get any money. But I'm like, I actually need money to live off of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never know when it's coming. So that I think there are definitely things that just naturally do produce anxiety because you don't know kind of what's next. You're comparing of other people, and you don't see the reality on social media, of course.
Yeah, and I think sometimes having those reality checks, like you were just saying, like you've written 4 books, you've written a graphic novel, like you've,
I feel
and
good.
it's amazing. And then, but sometimes you get in your own head, don't you? And you go like, oh well, what should I be doing? I should be doing something. I should be doing something. When actually, just resting is just as like
Yeah,
important.
yeah, I'm all about the rest. I think more of us have got to talk about when we're resting. That's why I was like to you, I'm napping after this. Nap before that. But I think it's good. And not even just rest so that you're able to work more, just resting in of itself is important. But I think because society is so built around your worth is equated to your productivity, um, it kind of fights that. So you're constantly thinking, yeah, I want to rest. And you're like, no, I need to claw some of this worth and productivity and whatnot. And then everyone around you, and people are talking about they're working hard and all that. And there's so much pressure of it all. And then at the same time, you also want to be super grateful because you're like, I'm really grateful for having work, and I'm really grateful for being able to make money. But it's also okay at the same time to want to prioritize rest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. And I think like the pandemic changed my view on that actually a lot. And I think Nath worked changing his job. So he works different shifts. So sometimes he's off midweek. So I'll take a day off with him to just spend the day together. And I think like your worth is not necessarily attached to your value, and your worth isn't attached to your job. It's, I'm much better, similarly probably to you, if I have a couple of days off in the week and I can rest and then recuperate, and then actually I'm much better and much more productive
Yeah.
for having that day.
Although, do you find that you cannot separate it because you're always like thinking of ideas? I feel like I work all the time, but at the same time, I don't work very much. It's like, I feel like I'm just thinking all the time rather than doing things. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a creative mind as well, because my mind pings off in like 20 different directions all the time, and it's constantly going.
Yeah, it's a nightmare,
Yeah.
isn't it? And when you go to bed and your brain's still going, you like switch off. It's so bizarre because my partner Nabil, he will go to bed and he'll be super busy all day. And he's creative in his own way, but it's a different kind of creativity, like in terms of business. He's good at that side of things. But he goes to bed and he's like out, he's gone. That's it. And I'm like, how do you do that? And also, like, if we go out for like a social event or a social situation, he doesn't need any decompression time afterwards. He just sleeps. Whereas he knows that I do. I'm like, I just have to go through everything because
Yeah.
I just like worries.
Yeah. I definitely find that I'm a social butterfly, but I'm kind of like extroverted, but also a bit introverted. Like, I don't like big events, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to chat in small situations.
Yeah. I think it's almost weirdly, it's like a lot of people confuse, I think, you can be extroverted but actually quite shy, and actually you can be introverted. I mean, you can be extroverted and socially anxious, and actually you can be more introverted but be super confident. Just how you kind of gain energy from different situations. But I think a lot of people are just more in the middle, like it's kind of like a spectrum of where you're at, and it depends on what people you're with and all of that. Like with Nabil, I could spend all my time with him because, I don't have to like put on any kind of act. I'm just like, I could just ignore him if he's talking to me. And he'll just be like, yeah, okay, that's normal. He laughs at me because I do like what he calls the 10-second delay. So I'll be like so zoned in on something and he'll ask me a question and I'll respond like 10 seconds later. Yeah.
I don't know whether I've told you this story before, but my other half, Nath, he went to go and get his ears tested because he thought he was losing his hearing because he couldn't hear me. And the nurse who did it said that he could still hear, he was just ignoring me.
For real, that's what the nurse actually said. So what did he say?
He said he was just like, he couldn't hear me. And then he came to me and he was like, so I went and she said I can hear properly, but I'm just ignoring you. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah. He just says that I talk so much that he just ignores me.
Do you? Wow.
Yeah. But it's like when he gets home, say like today I've been off. So I've spoken to you, I've spoken to like a couple of people at the shop or whatever when I'm out dog walking. And then when he gets home, I'm like, da 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 da, and like I've got like a word count I need to use. So I'm like, oh, and like that all the time. But then, like you were saying as well, sometimes if I'm have a busy day at work and we're chatting and everything's going on, I then need like a couple of hours of just like calm down, chill out, and recuperate.
Yeah, I think I switch between the two for sure. I think generally I'm more like less to talk, but when I'm really into stuff, like I didn't see Nabil for a couple of days and I got home and he was instantly like, oh my God, this is too much. Because I was like, at the house. So I had all these things to talk about the house and things we needed to sort. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I don't really want to talk about all this all night.
That's it. We sound similar because I'm exactly the same. And my sister, whenever I go and see my sister and her husband and my nephew, she's like, Charlotte, are you going to let me have a word in edgeways?
But I think you only do it with the people you love and that you know, like, are there for you. Whereas with other people, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I listen to everything they say, so it's fine.
I'm pretty chatty on set as well. Like,
I think you're definitely more chatty than me. Yeah. I'm like chatty with Nabil, and with everyone else, I'm more not so much.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it?
I talk about all the things that I'm interested in, like the house and exciting things to me. And I know that he won't, well, he will judge me for doing it, but I don't care. It's fine because we're just like, just feels like he's kind of a part of me. Whereas with other people, I'm more like respectful. I'm more respectful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way of putting it. Like, there's certain stuff I like go 10 to the dozen with Nath, like chat him. And then there's certain things at work where I'm just, I just like to have a chat while I'm working because sometimes some of the work I'm doing is so, I've done it a million times, like, you know, mannequin or whatever. So you just kind of, you need a chat just to get through the day.
Yeah, it kind of makes you work better just to have a bit of chat. Like working in silence is hard. Like that's another thing about being self-employed is, I don't know, like I work from home most of the time and I'm on my own at home because Nabil's out during the week. And I just get like, it's not like I don't even want anybody there necessarily to chat to that much, but I just want somebody there, you know, just so I'm like a presence of some kind who can also remind me, you know, oh, shall we have lunch? Shall we drink? Because I forget those things. I get so, either I'm like doing nothing or I'm doing everything and then I forget to eat. It's not good.
And the cats can't remind you.
I know, yeah. They just remind me when they need feeding and inky.
Oh. Yeah, they do that, don't they? Coco's the same. She'll like look at me like, are you going to feed me today?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. I just want my food, you know?
Yeah, that's it. They're like, don't care about you. You look hydrated. It's fine.
It's fine. I like to be cares deep down, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does good cuddles, which I think is his way of caring. Like when I'm working too hard, he's like, "No, you need a rest," and he'll sit on me and make sure that I can't move.
Oh, that's nice.
Really cute.
Oh, that's really nice.
And Mochi as well. The Mochi's more of a like he'll choose you at certain times. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like that, aren't they, cats? They're a bit more independent and then kind of choose you at certain points.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I about it. I feel like we could all learn from cats. They got good boundaries and they know what they want. Just in the moment.
That's it. I think that I've got a really needy dog, especially after the pandemic, and where it was just me and her for quite a while because Nath was
Yeah.
working. And now, like, she's completely just like attached to me. I put her food
Oh,
down the other day before I left for work, but Nath was off and she didn't touch her food till I got home.
oh. Sometimes my cats do that as well. I think they feel safer when they're eating near you.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, I guess. But I thought it made more sense in cats. But I guess with dogs, it's more, yeah, just needing you.
Yeah. I think that's it. She looks at Nathan and is just like, oh, who are you?
Nice to be the favourite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, so a quick one about your sense of style. I really love all your bright clothes and your bright hair. And how have you always dressed like that?
Yeah, weirdly, when I was a lot younger, I've always been drawn to colour, and I remember wanting my bedroom to be like yellow, pink, and blue, and all the colours. And I love colour, but then it's weird, when you're a kid and you're younger, all you want to do is you want to blend in. And when you get older, you're like, actually, I want to stand out. I want to be me. I don't want to blend in anymore. So when I was a kid, like a teenager, I went through a phase of wearing a bit of black. I wasn't as expressive, and I've kind of got more into that. I honestly think when I am 60, 70, I'm so excited for it because I'm just going to be a total like bonkers old lady, all the colours, and I'm just not going to care what anybody thinks, and I cannot wait for that. And I mean, I'm probably going to, I don't know, it's just like every year I'm like, yep, getting more colourful,
Yeah.
yep, ass, right? It's brilliant. Just good to just be you. And I think it doesn't necessarily mean wearing colour. I think it's just wearing whatever you want, It's like, why shouldn't we do that? But yeah, I definitely think that because I was really socially anxious. I had like severe social anxiety as a child, as a teenager, which sounds weird to think that now I do stuff that I went on television. But yeah, I really, really struggled with it. And I sort of lived in my head all the time. Didn't have any friends, just lived in my head. I actually didn't talk outside the house for many, many years. I'd get home and then I'd be like, "Ah!" like a normal person. Then I'd go outside and I'd be like, totally. In fact, I'd be so terrified of making any kind of change. It wasn't just speaking, it extended to everything. The way I walked, I couldn't walk in any way to draw attention. So I had to like be quite static. And I didn't want to make any facial expressions. So I didn't want to draw attention. I wouldn't change my hair. Changing a small thing about your uniform, like even just like your trousers, like even though if to the same color uniform, but in my head it's a massive thing. Be terrified of that. Non-school uniform days when you come in and wear your own clothes, I'd just try not come in because it's tension. So I was super, super socially anxious, but I always lived in my head and I always knew this isn't me and I'm just stuck like this until I can get out of this. But I remember it feeling like the longest time ever. Yeah. But
Yeah.
now I'm pretty weirdly, I'd still say I'm socially anxious, but I probably don't seem it in some ways. I don't know, but I am. in
Yeah.
my head.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When you're a teenager and like you're saying, you try and fit in and just blend in and just not be you essentially. Because
Yeah,
I had a similar phase where I was like very wearing a lot of black and
yeah,
I think you're trying to figure out the world as well.
yeah, definitely. You think that you understand, but you just don't. Like your brain's not fully developed until you're 25.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, it's tough being a teenager.
Yeah. I wouldn't
Some people are like, oh, I wish, I could go back to school or be, and I'm like, that's weird. No, worst time of my life.
Yeah, mine was all right, but I wouldn't want to go back. And I certainly would not want to be a teenager nowadays with all the social media and everything else.
Oh, yeah. I can't, it must be so stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awful. Because at least I could go home and, well, my home life wasn't great, but, at least I didn't have any school interfering into home because there's no, well, it was like a cusp of, was, but social media, it was more like Facebook when I was a little bit, but not really, like now it's like you just got to be on it. And it's bonkers.
Yeah, it's quite, like we were saying earlier, it's quite hard because when you're self employed, you've got to be on it. But then these kids are like, have this pressure to go on, this pressure to look a certain way, and just, I don't know how they do it.
No, no. I think, well, it's, yeah, bonkers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because at least now we're like adults and we're like, okay, at least we can filter through the social media a bit, and we know that we're doing it, for work reasons, but it's not, yeah.
Yeah. And even then, I find it hard, even with work. So I've got the one for the podcast, my personal one, and then a kind of portfolio one. And it's hard. Like I find just it's nice to be connected with people who I've worked with on Instagram because it's quite an easy kind of casual connection. But it's so hard to like maintain it. Like one of my friends does behind the scenes reels and then puts them up when the images are live. And I'm like, how have you got the brain space to think of that as well? Because I just don't.
Totally. Like I've got certain people who I follow and I'm like, wow, how do you do this? You're like doing stories every day. You're like posting so regularly. But I think we just got to remember that we've all got our strengths in different ways. And some people are, it's not that, I mean, some people are really good at that, but, we're good at other stuff. We might not be good at that. Well, I try and keep on top of it, but I do feel overwhelmed a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be overwhelming because it there's sort of like a unseen demand and pressure. But what I've tried to do with the podcast one is just schedule stuff. So I'll spend maybe like a couple of hours a month just scheduling everything, writing all the
Yeah.
little copy and doing it that way because then I'm not having to think about it.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. Organized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just blows my mind. My mind's just literally like, I can't think. And then on top of that, you're thinking about invoicing people, booking work, sorting out the house, walking the dog, everything else.
Too much going on in life. Too many things for sure. I've been using this app lately to try organize my day called Tick something. Tick Tick, no, something like that. And yeah, but every day I do this thing and I recognize that I did it a while ago, so I wrote an Instagram post about it, but I still keep doing it where every day I give myself too many things and I know I'm never going to do all those things, and then by the end of the day I just like start putting them on another day. I'm like, oh, that day, there we go. I kind of know why I'm doing it psychologically, which is I think that if I put too few things that I'll definitely achieve, that I'm going to do even less because I'll never do all the things, which actually is wrong and it's just not correct. It's better to put less things on there, achieve them, and then actually add some more if you want to, or just don't. Because I think it's better to praise, encourage ourselves through positive reinforcement rather than negative reinforcement, which is currently what I'm trying to do, and it's not working. But it's like hard when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, having worked in mental health, like, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm meant to do, but even when you know what you need to do, it's not like you can just do it, you know. And there's so many like deep rooted core beliefs that we have and things that go around in your head and you get stuck. There's certain things like you can change behaviors easier than you can change thoughts though as well. And like deep core beliefs are really hard to shift and change, just a gradual process. But when I think back, like now, and I think back like 2 years, even like just after the Bake Off, 3 years, 4 years, I think, wow, I'm so much more, I don't know, like psychologically, I understand myself better. I feel like, and I feel like that's a really good thing to feel like you can look back and go, you know, I kind of, I'm a bit stronger, I'm a bit more whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you've looked back and gone, oh, actually, I can see my own improvement. Because I think that's something we forget to do as well, especially when you're creative, I think, because you get so busy with lots of different ideas that you kind of forget to look back and go, oh, wow, I did this. Wow, look how much I've moved along. Look how great I am at setting boundaries, at, you know,
Yeah.
creating stuff. And we forget to praise ourselves quite a lot, actually.
We forget to praise ourselves not only with, achievements and things that are, you know, that other people can see, but also forget to praise ourselves for those things that actually are really important, like being better at setting boundaries, like you said. Yeah, but it's weird, like society values more though those concrete achievements, like you buy a house and you, I don't know, make more money and you do these things.
Yeah.
Which are really good, I think. You know, I'd love to win the lottery. That'd be amazing. And then like just like chill. Oh, I'd love it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But I do think those like core beliefs, you're definitely right. Like, we watched this show on Netflix called How to Live a Rich Life, I think. And
I've seen that, but I've not watched it. I have
oh,
seen it.
watch it because it's so good.
Yeah.
It's honestly,
Oh,
it's so good. And he was saying about like how people put like an onus on owning a house and like living a certain life when actually that's not for everybody. So some people actually would prefer to rent and then travel for 2 months of the year or whatever.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but yeah, that's a really good show to kind of just help you figure out. Like for us, it's helped us figure out like where we want to spend our money and things like that. But there is definitely like that core thing. It seems a very British thing as well to be. You've got to own your own house and you've got to
Yeah, it
like
is.
get married and you've got to have 2.4 children and you've got to have the career and when actually like you don't need to do any of it if you don't want.
No, yeah, exactly. Your life is your life and you don't have to. I mean, I always say, like, I was saying to my partner Nabil the other day, like, I was like, when we're like, like, when we're like, we just want to retire and we've not saved anything for retirement because we're both self-employed and don't know if that'll happen, what we can do is we can sell our house and we can go live in like Thailand or China and we can just like not work and just chill out. And he was like, yeah, but what about all our friends and family and stuff? I was like, so I think that's what stops people doing things like that. But I was still like, well, we could still kind of do, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think you're right though, because your mates can come and fly out and see you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's like, why do we have to do it the ordinary way? I mean, I love our house. And I love decorating it. But then there's also part of me that loves the idea of just going traveling, you know? Like, and it's weird, like, actually doing up your own house is not really a sensible thing to do if you want to make it. you should, it doesn't make sense because you're just going to live in it. So, yeah. But it's nice. I enjoy it. And it's something that I'm obsessed about, and I love decorating, and it brings me so much joy. So I'm happy. I'm probably not that advent. I like routine, and I like, you know, predictability. So probably traveling every day wouldn't work for me. But I would like to be able to do it for a little bit. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, we're the same. We're thinking that this is quite a morbid thought, but once our dog's passed, once she's at that age and she's passed, we're going to have a gap in between having more dogs to go and travel without any responsibilities. Because
Yeah.
I think otherwise you don't do it, and then you kick yourself like 20 years down the line when your body's not as capable. You're like, you're deeper in owning more houses, or you've like,
Yeah. And you always say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then you don't really, but just do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. You just got absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've got another question for you. Your graphic novel,
Yes.
how did that come about?
So my partner Nabil has like comic book, graphic novel, board game stores. We actually met through playing board games, which is such a great way to meet people. So I've always been sort of connected with that. And we had a friend who was like, "Do you want to do a comic?" And I was like, "Okay," because I mean, just any opportunity, I'm like, I'm on it, and I love it, and I'm just, yeah, it's just another different medium to explore. So yeah, then I have a friend who's a editor, who got on board and then recommended an artist to work with, Alti, who lives in Indonesia, and she's amazing, such a good artist. And yeah, kind of my editor recommended people to do it because it's a really interesting process, different to traditional book publishing because it's with Comixology. So essentially, I own it all, which is really good. So they give you an advance, but it's a much larger advance because you actually pay the people yourself through it. So I paid the artists and paid letterers and everything, and tried to get my head around writing a graphic novel, which is very different. And so, I mean, really interesting, and I learned a lot, and I actually really loved it, and I want to do another one because it's such a good medium, I think, for talking about mental health issues as well, because it's called Turtle Bread, and it's to do with all the things I love, so baking, mental health. These are the core themes: are baking, mental health, and how baking can bring people together, but also about just moving forward slowly. There's a whole, like the metaphor of the turtle throughout the whole story, which is about how, yeah, being vulnerable, kind of like sticking your head out of your shell a little bit from time to time, and slow progress is still progress. And even when you go backwards a bit, it's life's not really like this, even. It's a bit more like, yeah, it's not like gradually going up, if you imagine like a graph. It's more like a bit zigzaggy and backwards and down and up. But generally, if you keep going, it kind of goes upwards. But yeah, and just how the power of having people around you who can really, I really think that's something that I always like try and emphasize, because a lot of people say, oh, how do you get out? Because a lot of it's about social anxiety, and a lot of people talk to me about, how did you manage to sort of tackle that? And I always say it's really to do with having people around you to help you. And I was lucky in that when I went to university, I met people, good friends somehow. And then I've got Nabil now, who's like the best. And just having that stable base makes you really, gives you that confidence to be a bit more vulnerable in new situations. Whereas if you don't have that stable base, it's really hard to be vulnerable, because what do you fall back on? But the only way to, yeah, get a bit grow more and learn more is to be vulnerable, because that's being strong. Like, so many people think of vulnerability as weakness, but it's something that actually you're being super like brave to do things that terrify you. I mean, I really think going on Bake Off was like terrifying for me, but I was like, I know I need to do it. There are some things though that terrify you, and for a good reason, and you just shouldn't do it. I generally know you have an inner sense, I think, of whether there's something terrifying but you really want to do it, or whether you just really don't want to do it, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's two things, but yeah, so I love it. And it's all about the main character. Is a lot of it is fictional, but a lot of her experiences are based on experiences that I've had. And she joins this baking club and meets all these other bakers. And there's like an intergenerational friendship she has with B, who's at the baking club. And kind of you figure out more about the other characters. And it's all about how people put on certain, you look at them and you think, oh, they're really confident, they've got it all together. But actually that there's more to people once it's sort of peeled away.
Yeah, that sounds so good. Oh, it sounds really, really good. And I think like it's an important story to bring out as well. And I think it's like you say, because it's a different form, like different format, you're going to go across different age groups and targeting different people as well. So it'll hopefully like hit the people who really need to have that kind of acknowledgement that it's not just them going through these things too.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I love, when I get messages from people saying that, they totally relate and stuff, that just makes it all worth it. It sounds like cliche, but it really does. I think that is, when you're being creative and with what you do as well, it's like, it's amazing. But I think the most amazing thing is, when you feel like you've really reached people and connected with people through what you do, is amazing.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think there's a certain, maybe it's as I'm getting older, but the more I want to kind of give back to people and go like, you can do things this way, or like you can relate to this. And I'm more up for sharing a lot more things. And I think it's that you want to give back and be like, yeah, train people and
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that's also a topic of kind of turtle bread, about how it's like, when you're really depressed and you're really, I don't know, it's almost like when other people offer to help you, it makes you feel worse because you go in that cycle of thinking you're a burden and all of that. But actually, when you're able to help other people, that is what helps you even more than them. And that's kind of a theme in turtle bread as well, through and just through baking in itself, like giving a bake to somebody else helps you and makes you feel happier, because you're like, I'm productive and useful. And it's a small little exchange that's representative of more, it's like a bit of power that you've got. You want a bit of power, you don't want to feel helpless. And you don't want people to feel sorry for you, but then you also want them to empathize, but not feel sorry for you. Such a fine balance. So yeah, that kind of links to what you said about how you want to give back and help other people. And I think that's what a lot of people go through. If you've got mental health issues and mental illness, it's I think that's probably the reason why I got into psychology and I was so interested in mental health, was because of my own experiences, and it's almost your way of dealing with it through helping other people.
yeah. And I think it's really interesting what you said about baking for other people as well, because my other half at the moment is going crazy with sourdough bread. And
Oh yeah, I love it.
it's literally his therapy. And I saw him like flopping some baguettes over his shoulders the other day. And just honestly, we're inundated with bread. But it's making him feel better. He's passing it on to neighbours. Family are having bread. There's wherever we go, there's bread at the moment.
Bread is one of the best things, I think, for your mental health, as well as because I feel like if you give cake's really good too, but not everyone always wants to eat cake, but everyone wants to eat bread, don't they? I mean, it's bread. And yeah. And it's weird when you make a homemade loaf of bread, it only lasts like a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't last.
We're literally, I'm a bugger. I'll slice it and then I'm just like thick butter on it.
Me too. Thick butter. Thick salted butter is where it's at.
Yeah.
So the best kind of butter is French butter.
Oh, yeah.
And more specific.
That's it. Like my mum and dad live in the south of France and then they had some like salted butter when we last went.
So good.
Nath was like, oh my, literally eating it with a spoon.
Yeah. Good, like amazing butter. You really taste it. It's food is just the best. Like food is amazing. And almost like I feel like bread is probably one of the more purposeful baking things, but I kind of like how a lot of my baking that I do kind of has no point to it. Just like I just want to put some cute faces on my cakes and stuff, but that's what makes it so therapeutic. I think that it's just pointless. It's not pointless, but it's kind of in a way, not like, because it's like if you cook, at least you can properly feed yourself on it, whereas if I bake a cake, I can't really eat the whole cake for my dinner. Well, I could do, but but it's like I'm really into the unpractical things. Like get me to cook dinner every day, I just won't do it. I just will not. I'll bake a cake and then be like, oh, what do I do for dinner? But yeah, much easier than doing the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. And actually I think that your bakes are really like dopamine releasing because you look at them and they're so cute. I don't know how you eat some of them with all those cats' faces on. I wouldn't be able to do it.
It's you just like try to do like Marie Kondo with them and like go, yes, I respect you and now I'm going to eat you. Yeah. It's funny. I did like a cookie video recently that went a bit viral. And it's so weird. That's why I was thinking of the baking pointless things. Loads of people commenting saying this is pointless. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point.
But
boring if we did everything that was like super practical, Yeah,
and sometimes just to create isn't boring because you're creating and using a different part of your brain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you're exercising your brain. That's good.
I think sometimes it really bothers me with social media when you probably get this a lot when people could just scroll past.
Oh, yeah.
Yet they leave a comment. Like you wouldn't comment on everything that you saw to people's faces in the street.
Yeah. It's bizarre. I think, people have too much time. I mean, people really do. Like on this post, there's people having gigantic arguments in the comments, like massive arguments where they're comparing it. Is weird stuff. Like talking about, I don't know, like it being disgusting. All it is a cat biscuit. It's a biscuit that looks like a cat's bum, but like in a very basic form, not like graphically, and it's got sprinkles inside. And when you open it, the sprinkles come out, which is, I thought, like really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's people just really getting upset by it. It's absolutely bonkers. It's quite entertaining. I've kind of I'm like, okay, just increase my engagement. Thanks.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
There's this guy who talked about saying this is the most pointless thing I've ever seen or something. And loads of people are arguing with him saying, well, people are into different things and that's okay. And then he actually sent me a DM saying that other people are bullying him and that I should monitor them. And I'm like, no, you put that comment. He's not helping himself though, because he's Yeah. It's so funny.
Like, does he think you're some sort of like, you've got a team of people managing your social media or something to just be like, oh, well, we'll filter out all these comments. Like, don't post it if you don't want a response.
And he is wanting a response. And the thing that he said as well is like, oh, it's not affecting him, but it could affect other people if they saw it. I'm like, no, it'd only affect them in thinking that people like you just should have better time just doing other things rather than commenting on cookies.
Maybe he needs to make the cat bum cookie with the sprinkles inside.
I think then he'd be happier.
Yeah, I think so too.
Or it's a thing, like, it kind of links to something else that I've been thinking about a bunch. Is like things that, it's like something that as a kid, like kids would love it. It's just like a bit of fun, a bit of mess, a bit weird. And it's weird, like when you become an adult, it's like you kind of suppress that side of things. But I love kids' things, I just absolutely love it. Like I love balloons. I have such a thing for balloons, or a trampoline. I would love that. And I just love like sitting on the floor, or just like colourful, just wearing whatever I want. I just think kids are free, and it's good to get in touch with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think like I've started to be a bit more like that as well. And kind of, I dress quite bright at work and most of the time. And I'm doing stuff that I enjoyed as a kid. So like, I've gone back swimming. I bought a hula hoop because I loved hula hooping as a kid.
Yay!
And
Yeah.
like, those are the things that you suppress because you think, oh, well, what if somebody else thinks that that's not normal? And actually, like, you need to release it all.
Totally. Definitely. Yeah. And some people don't even realise that they're suppressing it. I mean, not that you have to specifically be into kid things to be, whatever. It's just, I think it's just more apparent when people are really angry at other people for being into those things or certain things. That's when it's like, if you're angry about it, then there's an issue.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. I wonder as well if people get angry about it because they're kind of jealous that you're able to be free and expressing yourself and they're not because they don't know how to do it.
Definitely, I think. But they don't realise that that's why. But they would if they thought about it for longer.
Yeah, I agree. I've got one little final question for you.
Yeah.
And it is, what inspires you? And this can be across like your style, your bakes, anything. Like, what inspires you to be creative and to be who you are?
Ooh. That's such a big question. That's so interesting. I could probably go on about this for ages. I think what used to be my biggest inspiration was always really because I had such bad social anxiety that I kept challenging myself to do the next thing to kind of, almost to be more me has been my life ambition. I think to just feel more comfortable in myself is my life ambition. And I suppose in a way that inspires me to do, I don't know. I guess I just want to do what I love, really. Just want to do what I love and have fun with it. But I also want to like feel, and I think everybody wants to feel like useful and connected. So that as well. But in terms of like day-to-day projects and bakes that I do, what inspires me is, I think, fun, trying to connect with people. But and also just everything I see, loads of things. I've like got so many screenshots on my phone that I'm like, I don't even know I screenshot that. And and then I never even go back and look at them really. I just screenshot more things. So it's like, I don't even know why I'm doing that. So yeah, I'm inspired by a lot of things, and people, but I think most of all, I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that is, and feel comfortable in being me, which I'm not quite there, but I feel like I get closer to there. So it's good. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
I don't really. Feels like such a complex thing to answer. So, yeah. There's a lot of inspirations everywhere.
I think that's such a lovely answer, though. And I feel like you are on this journey of finding out who you are. And I think that's amazing.
Thanks.
And it's so lovely to watch. And like, I remember when I came to your house to drop those props off and you're in your like pink tiger like pajamas, loungewear, and you had your heart. Oh, they were great. Your heart sunglasses on, and you just sat on your like bench. And I saw like the mural on your wall and your amazing kitchen. And I just thought, oh my God, just wow. You just like so much colour, so much inspiration all around you. And I think I was just like, wow, this.
Love that.
Loved it.
That is like it just makes me so happy. Like I think I got so obsessed with that kitchen. You do not know how many screenshots I had, how many diagrams I'd drawn. It like encompassed, it was like my whole brain for ages. I mean, yeah, so it's like, I get so excited when like people compliment it. I'm like, oh, it feels like an extension of me.
Yeah. It was so good, and definitely have a think about putting your house on the that website I sent you about.
Yeah, so as soon as we get this upstairs bit done, totally. I'm going to send you a picture when we get our hallway done as well, because it's going to be so epic. I can't wait.
I'm so excited to see that, because just so inspirational, your house. It's incredible.
Thanks. Although maybe next week I'll just sell it and go travelling.
Oh, well.
Probably.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been a lovely chat.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lovely chat. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!